Curse of the Abandoned Asylum. It was a dark and stormy night, and the streets of the small town were deserted. But in the distance, there was a flicker of light coming from an abandoned asylum that had been closed for years. A group of friends had heard stories about the asylum being haunted, and they decided to explore it. As they approached the asylum, they saw the front door was open. They hesitated for a moment, but their curiosity got the better of them, and they stepped inside. The asylum was dark and eerie, with long hallways and peeling wallpaper. As they explored, they found old medical equipment and furniture that had been left behind. But as they moved deeper into the asylum, they started to feel they were being watched. They heard whispers in the darkness and strange noises that seemed to come from nowhere. But as they continued, they found themselves facing something far more terrifying. They had stumbled upon a room that had been hidden from view, and inside, they found an old diary. As they read through the diary, they learned that the asylum had been cursed by an evil spirit, one that had possessed the patients and doctors alike. The curse had caused madness and terror, and many had died within the walls of the asylum. But the curse had not been contained, and it had spread beyond the walls of the asylum, consuming everything in its path. As the group of friends read the diary, they felt a presence in the room. They turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The figure spoke, its voice filled with anger and hatred. It told them that they had disturbed the curse and that they would now face its wrath. The friends tried to run, but the asylum had become a labyrinth and they were lost. They could hear the sound of blood-curdling screams, and the shadows seemed to be alive, moving and shifting as they were alive. They knew that they were not alone, and that the evil spirits that had possessed the patients and doctors of the asylum were now after them. They fought for their lives, but the supernatural powers were too strong. One by one they fell, consumed by the curse that had haunted the asylum for so long. In the end, only one friend survived, but she was never the same again. The terror and the curse had consumed her, and she spent the rest of her life haunted by the memories of that night. The abandoned asylum remained a testament to the horrors that had taken place within its walls, but the curse had been contained, and the town had become a little bit safer. But on dark and stormy nights, the whispers of the curse could still be heard, and the shadows seemed to move as if the past was not quite as dead as everyone had thought. The town had tried to forget about the cursed asylum and the horrors that had taken place there, but the events of that night had left an indelible mark on the survivors. They couldn't shake the feeling that the evil spirits that had possessed the asylum's patients and doctors were still out there, waiting to exact their revenge on the living. The survivor tried to move on with her life, but the memories of the cursed asylum haunted her every waking moment. She couldn't sleep without waking up in a cold sweat, the screams of her friends echoing in her ears. As she went about her daily life, she began to notice strange things happening around her. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut, and she would feel a chill in the air even on the warmest days. It wasn't long before she realized that the curse had followed her out of the asylum and into the town. She tried to ignore it, but the supernatural forces were too strong. One night, as she lay in bed, she felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. She turned around, but there was no one there. She felt a hand grab her ankle and she screamed, but there was no one in the room. And she knew then that the curse was not going to leave her alone. She decided to face her fear head on and return to the asylum. As she walked through the abandoned halls, she felt the spirits watching her every move. She knew they were angry, but she didn't care. She was determined to break the curse once and for all. She found the diary that had led her to the cursed room on that fateful night. She read through it again, trying to find some clue as to how to break the curse. As she read, she realized that the curse was not just on the asylum, but on the entire town. The only way to break the curse was to perform a ritual that would exorcise the evil spirits. She gathered the remaining survivors and they set out to perform the ritual. It was a dangerous task, but they were determined to break the curse. As they began the ritual, the spirits began to rise from the ground, their eyes glowing with hatred. But the survivors didn't back down. They fought the spirits with all their might, determined to break the curse. In the end, they were successful. The spirits dissipated, and the curse was lifted. The asylum was abandoned once again, but this time, it was no longer hunted by the evil spirits. The survivor and the remaining survivors left the town, never looking back. They knew that the curse was gone, but they couldn't forget the horrors that had taken place there. The town slowly recovered, but the memories of the cursed asylum remained. The town's people tried to move on, but they knew that they could never forget the curse that had haunted their town for so long.